Are you ready to begin?
Yeah, oh shit, it's still showing us. Okay,
Build
that's
it
fine.
with your tech friend. Build it with your tech friend. Build it with your tech friend. Build
Yeah, my
it
friend
with your
Jesse
tech
made this.
friend towards the singularity.
Work in
Build
progress.
it with your tech friend. Build it with your
Nice.
tech friend. Build it with your tech friend. Here for the community.
Found 'em all, we lock it in.
All right, awesome. Cyril, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you please give an intro to yourself?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, I go by Sierra Online. I've been working in tech for the last 10 years. And yeah, I've been working in crypto and AI. Well, crypto for the last like 5 and AI for the last 3, give or take. I've done a whole bunch of different stuff. I love doing a bunch of things at the same time. That tells you a lot about me. But yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, definitely. I did a little bit of research and you have a lot of different projects. Hopefully we can touch on a lot of them. The first, kind of the biggest one and the one that I've been hyping on X is your like local LLM rig setup, which I think is super cool and impressive. Yeah, would you like to talk a little bit about that and why you got into it and how it's going?
Definitely. It's been like 4 months, so I wanted to originally buy a Mac Studio, like the Mac Ultra. Well, mainly, okay, I was paying like $20 a month, I think, for the Cursor subscription, and I was using probably like a few $1,000s a month on that. That was when they had
Damn.
unlimited. And so,
Okay.
and then I
So
moved
not out
on
of
to
pocket
Claude.
though, right?
No, not out of pocket, but I was using like just so much of this, like the LLM stuff. And then when they switched their pricing model, I mean, it was obvious they were going to do it, but when they switched their pricing model, I mainly went on to Claude Code, and then Claude Code started introducing these limits. And yeah, I wanted to have something that I can run locally that's like a backup in case, because almost everything I do now is done via the LLMs, right? Not just in terms of work or coding, like literally anything that I do, I try to do it through them as opposed to through myself. And so this is like a hedge against, you know, being super dependent. But yeah, it's 83090s. I want to start selling off the 3090s and like get higher bandwidth, like higher memory cards, because it's very inefficient. Like it just guzzles electricity. And then you have like a hard limit to how big the models can get. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely a great intro. I mean, I have a lot of follow-up questions. Particularly, you say it's like a backup at the moment, so it's, I assume, not enough power to kind of run multiple agents at the same time, or kind of like what you'd get
Oh,
with
you
the Claude
could.
Code subscription. You could?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I use Minimax M2.1 locally, like in before M2 and before that GLM. And like I'm running, so, you know, there's like this whole, I would say like 3 branches of AI tech that you can buy for running stuff at home. You have like the NVIDIA high bandwidth cards, or like the GPUs. You have those mixed memories, like Intel, and there's a whole bunch of different companies doing it. And then I would say Apple is kind of its own thing because MLX. But with NVIDIA cards, they could run stuff very, very fast. Like you get the same speeds the providers of these models get if you could fit
Oh,
it
wow, okay.
locally. Yeah, and so, and also Minimax is extremely capable, 200,000K context. So
Yeah.
it's like you don't really feel much of a difference until you get into like the difficult, you know, tasks.
Yeah.
Everything else is the same.
Okay, wow, incredible. So you can do like, 4 or 5 agents running
Yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you've said that like Minimax is kind of like your Claude and GLM is like more of a GPT. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, I still do. So, Minimax, like I think now it's viable actually. So when I bought this 4 months ago, I think you could make it work, but it was not very viable. Like if you wanted to do this seriously, and I think now it's viable. Like with Minimax specifically, because it's essentially the same as Claude Sonnet. Like there's no difference in the behavior. They do the same stuff. Opus is better, but you don't need Opus, right? Like we were
Yeah.
doing the same thing 3 months ago. Um, so yeah, with the Minimax, like, do you use Claude or do you use GPT? Like, what's your go-to?
Yeah, I'm a big Opus stan. I've been
Hmm.
just using that. It's just been so incredible. I've heard really good things about 5.2 on Codex, but I've also heard it's like a bit slower. But yeah, I was just like, keeping it simple, one subscription and Opus mostly.
Yeah. So I would say the way I think about it is that there is like collaborative work, and then there's handed off type of work, right? GPT is a handed off worker. So like 5.0, 5.1, 5.2 all have the same property, where if you like, I do it in 3 steps now. So I basically I have like a prompt that's uh, it's like a workflow prompt where I tell it to create a rules file with all the linting and all the like stuff that I like. Use factory patterns, do like dependency injection, files at 300 lines of code max. So like all the stuff that I care about is saved in rules, and then scope is like the higher level overview of what the task is. Like what are we trying to accomplish, and then a tasks directory with a sequence of tasks. So you can have task 00, task 01, etc., and a research document that links all of the, like, basically references all of the files that are involved in a piece of work, right? And so if you set that up, so first it has this document that's like an instruction manual for essentially how it's supposed to do the development, and then I tell it, all right, we need to now populate it with task data, right? Like, what is it exactly that we're trying to accomplish in this specific iteration? Like, we want to add, I don't know, like Stripe integration and just an example. We want to add Stripe integration and payments and all that. So I tell it essentially, and then it interviews me, and then it has a limit of like 10 questions it can ask, and then it uses that to create the scope. I give the scope over to GPT 5.2x high, like not the Codex one, the other one, and I tell it to read every file involved, right, in this entire thing, or every file in the repo if it's at a certain size, and then I get it to produce the tasks, produce the rules, set up the linting, set up the tests, and then I switch it to Codex. And the way Codex works, the actual harness itself. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, but I think this is a very useful thing. With Codex, the CLI tool, you could send a message, and it won't see, like, if it's doing so. So you are having a chat with it. You've sent a message, and now it's working on your message. If you send another one, it's not interrupting it the way Claude works with Claude. So Claude will just immediately, it'll queue it until the end of the turn, right? So it can run for 45 minutes in a turn, like an hour. I've seen it run up to 2 more in one turn. Yeah. And so you could have it where you tag at rules, at scope, at research, at task 00, send it, and then at task 01. So you're basically copy pasting this like sequence, and then that goes into the queue, and I've gotten it to work for 17 hours straight. Wow. No stop, no interruptions, nothing. So Codex I use for more difficult engineering work too. Like, it's a better programmer fundamentally than Claude. It likes to do things horizontally, so it likes to just like make changes, make new files, like make new stuff. It doesn't think about like, okay, how do I implement this within the context of what exists? It's like, all right, I'm making a new thing, right? GPT doesn't do that. GPT like kind of integrates it deeply in. So they both have pros and cons. Telling GPT to do anything agentic sucks. Like, you tell like, oh, run my Docker container, sucks, horrible. But if you tell it to like write code, it's incredible. Sorry for going on for so long.
No, that's cool. You touched on some really great things. Q mode, I love it. It's in the Augment Code CLI as well, and I think it's a really great feature. But I'm curious, the way that I assume Q mode works is it relies on, like, say you do phase 1, phase 2 in a queue, it relies on like, well, Codex in this case, its own like compaction summarization to manage context in between tasks. Have you considered, like, I know Ralph Wiggum is getting pretty popular because, you know, it starts a new session kind of every time and runs the agent in the non-interactive mode. Have you tried doing that, and do you think that would have better results as you're starting like a new context every phase, I'd assume?
Yeah, so with I've used the Ralph one. Before Ralph was out, I had like this Twitter post. Like I just like post stuff whenever I have an idea. And the idea was, instead of having like direct communication with the model, you only talk into this like system runner, and the system runner then goes and does all, like, you know, uses sub agents, gets all the stuff, collects it, and then passes it on to the workers, and then judges them at every step, right? Essentially, this is Ralph, but Ralph is way smarter because it's way simpler. Like, it's just one like one in one. But I think that's kind of essentially where we're going, as like the entire tooling is going in that direction of like, how do we not have to compact and just keep things running at minimal context, because that's where the intelligence is as soon as you go past that. Except for GPT. For some reason, like 250K context in this window, it's still super accurate. No, like,
Yeah,
no degradation.
must be pretty good with the harness, I think. So yeah, you mentioned Codex, but when you're using like these local models, I think I saw you use open code and Pi. Do you have any like reasons why you choose one over the other? Any particular features you like in each harness?
Yeah, so Pi comes with Claude bot, so like you can connect your Discord and Telegram to Claude via Pi, and so that's why I use Pi. It's also like just this very bare bones, but has every feature. So it has all the features, but it's like super minimal. Like it's not forcing you into anything. I think Claude, like the Claude harness, has just too much stuff. Like, there's like too many things that it's giving the model. Anyway, open code is great because like the architecture of it is stunning. So you have like the server, it's a separate thing, and then you have the actual like TUI application. In sessions, like just the way it's set up means you can build very complicated like orchestration systems on top of it, because it's super simple. Like you could spawn a server that is just an open code agent, right? Like a coding agent, but it's headless. So you can spawn it and you can put it on a certain port, and then you can like have a registry and have like an agent spawn within that port. It's very good.
Yeah, that architecture of like the server first and then different front ends, I think it's awesome. I kind of wish I started with that approach on some of my projects. You mentioned Claudebot by Peter Steinberger. I think that's an awesome project. Is that something that you're running as well? And do you run it on like a local machine or in a cloud?
Yeah, I have it running on my local machine. At this point, like, yeah, well, I have it running on my local machine. I have it set up to Discord, and like I have some security stuff around it, like Cloudflare and all this stuff. But it's just so risky. But also, you know, it's either a risk
And powerful and like easier
yeah,
to
risk,
integrate with what you
speed.
have. Yeah. And
Speed is the main thing.
in my research, I saw that you've worked on ELIZA quite extensively before, like a big contributor to ELIZA. There's a lot of like parallels, I'd say, between ELIZA and Claude. But how did you see these agents kind of evolving over the past, like, I guess, is it 2 years?
It hasn't really. I mean, it's like it's still like the concept of agent. And so you have the concept of like the agent, and then you have the concept of agents with an S. So if you're running a single agent, you tend to use it like an extension of yourself, where you're just essentially giving it orders, right? You're not caring at all about like what it's saying. You're just like, okay, go do this and code this and deploy, right? It's just very like 2-word requests. So there's that, and then there's anytime you talk about agents with an S, where people are thinking, okay, I'm gonna run multiple of them. It's always like role play, right? Like there's like role play involved. It's like we need to,
Like persona.
and it's always been super deeply into the AI thing. Is like how do you give it a character, and how do you how do you make it communicate, and what role is it playing, and like how, if you have a few of them, how are they interacting with each other? It's very character driven, and so this Eliza stuff is still like very. I think they're way ahead of the game. By the way, I think they're probably
Yeah,
like one of the first in terms of like what they
definitely.
understand is going to happen.
Okay.
You look
But
at
you
it
think
now and then look. Sorry,
it's
go
still
ahead.
early? You think it's still early though? Like you say, what's going to happen? Like
Oh
they've got a
yeah,
good
oh
lead,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like I guess the ecosystem isn't up to date, or what's holding it back?
So Eliza is like the case of Eliza is like it's too advanced for its own good in a way, right? And it's always been like that. And I still
Mm.
believe right now it's like the stuff that Eliza is doing now is going to be done by Anthropic like a year from now. My guess, right? Um,
Yeah.
the, I don't know how much I can talk. I don't know how much I can talk about this in public, but like based on the public GitHubs, like he's thinking about shared knowledge bases between groups of people, financial long-term financial learning based on a bunch of people. So if you have a bunch of wallets that are interacting, and you can have it like sit in the wallet, and it's like your financial advisor, and then basically they can tip each other off. He's thinking about networks, like how to not networks of like three sub agents, like networks of thousands of constantly running agents that have their own characters, like role in a society, right? This is what they're doing now based on the public stuff, and so this will trickle down eventually into like more like institutional corporations and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think it makes sense in theory, but like just like how do we get to there? It still seems like, as you said, it's ahead of its time.
Let me
Yeah.
just like give you an example. So
Yeah.
the whole thing with prediction markets.
Yeah, for sure. Very,
So
very
basically, there's
interesting.
a bunch of prediction markets about people that are public.
Hmm.
Like they're
Yeah.
public people, right? So there's prediction
Yeah, yeah.
markets about what is this person going to do, or what is that person
Yeah.
going to do. So what if you take all of that data and then you essentially do reinforcement learning on models, so that like even small ones, so that they can replicate the behavior of this person in like a simulated cloud environment, and you could just basically have them interacting with each other constantly, and you can do this in parallel. And so like now you have this very valuable data that as long as you can get it to be precise, like if the
Hmm.
bot can predict the next five out of the next 10
Mm.
tweets that this person is going to write, like that means they're probably tuned enough to like know what these people are going to do, and so that like there is a
Mm.
direct link between how you can take huge amounts of AIs that are unsupervised and then turn them into something valuable. I think that's something that's interesting. Sorry, this is a little bit rambly.
No, that's good. It totally makes sense. I just sorry to step back a bit. Had a message in the chat from Revant. They've asked multiple Macs versus multiple NVIDIA GPUs. Like, is this obviously, I think you said it was a consideration. You first wanted a Mac. Can you talk a bit more about what the trade-offs are and like the pricing and back then and now is if it's changed?
Yeah, so if you want to run the big boys, so this is like anything above, I don't know, 100 million parameters. If you want to run that, you need a Mac, right? It depends on the budget you have. So, like, you could get to one
100 billion,
terabyte
sorry,
of
or million?
100 billion parameters.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 200 billion if you quantize it. But so, okay, let's just like talk about the numbers. So, 1 terabyte of memory, 1 terabyte of Apple memory is going to cost you used about like $16,000 to $18,000, right? Used. New, it's going to cost you about like $21,000, $22,000.
Hmm.
With NVIDIA, getting to 1 terabyte of RAM would cost you at minimum 5 times 12K, 60,000, 60,000, and this is running a 3090 farm. And so running a 3090 farm means that your like hourly electrical costs are astronomical, right? Like insane numbers. It does not make sense.
Yeah.
To get to 1 terabyte of VRAM with NVIDIA, you need about $250,000. So that's the consideration to make. But then Mac is very slow.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Well, okay.
way
Right.
slower. Now, if you run like a farm of Macs, you could get 33% of the speed of NVIDIA if you're running multiple Macs, and it has to be multiple, like two or more.
Hmm.
So you would get 30% of the speed of NVIDIA with MLX, but now with XO, so you can like scale it better, so you can get 64 at a time or whatever, and then with the fact that like I think there's stuff happening with the Apple ecosystem that's making the performance way better, right? Like I think the next two generations are going to be significantly better, and I think probably Apple is going to win the consumer AI race from there. The decision to make those, like, do you want to get your hands dirty and do you want speed? If so, go NVIDIA. And if it's, do you want to run big models and you don't really care much about speed, go with Apple. Like, that's, cost aside.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the big VRAM is obviously a huge limiter for the NVIDIA models, but it seems like there's some techniques that you're actually kind of pioneering in this field, like reaping and pruning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just reproduced what Cerebrus put out. To be honest, like I didn't do much in terms of changing like the core thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I want to give like a big kudos to them because like it was super cool to me when I saw it. I was always watching Hugging Face because I got all this stuff and I'm like tinkering with it constantly. So I want to run stuff on it. And when I saw the Cerebrus models that went up, that same method, they prune them, and then so they prune them and other people quantize them. But then you could fit like GLM on your at home for
Yeah.
$6,000 and that to me is very impressive. If it, like there's this whole thing where when you're talking to a model, like it is very big and you don't need most of it. It's just that the knowledge is not like cleanly in one place, right? So like
Mhm.
you can't just remove like the Chinese 10% of the model. It's just not possible. But you could remove experts. So with this reap, you could remove experts that only activate for like financial stuff or for languages, right? Like, or translation tasks. So you could basically run these simulations and see which experts activate for what, and then you gather these observations. This is what's happening in the software level. You gather these observations, and then you decide like how much do you want to cut off, and then it's going to cut off like the least useful to your use case, and you do it based on your use case. So you can do it for coding, you can do it for math, you can do it for whatever that you care about. And you get lossless, you get near lossless fidelity in that specific field because the quantization is also the same. So you have like a sample data set, right? Like imagine you take all of your conversations with AI, that's what you care about. And so you like GLM, but you can't fit it on your device. So you can just basically give GLM all of your conversations that you've ever had with AI. You can get them in one folder, give it to GLM, and then have GLM basically respond to it and see what experts are activating the most, preserve those, chop off the rest, right? Because that's what matters to you. So anything that doesn't activate based on your data doesn't matter to you. So you can chop it off and throw it out. It's obviously not as clean as I'm saying it, but
That's kind of the
theoretically, like,
methodology.
and with
Interesting.
quantization too, so they have this like mixed bit quantization. So you can have like 4 bits on average, which is 25% of the total size. So 4 bits on average, but you can have the activations based on your data set be 16 bits. So it's like basically you have the full model, right, based on your use cases. It just chops off other stuff, so you can't really ask it, go translate this for me. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's cool stuff. So yeah, your primary use case I saw, I think, was coding. So you kind of like remove all the non-coding experts to dumb it down. I'm assuming it's a bit more complex than
Yes.
that, but yeah. And then do you feed them your kind of like conversation history to find out which expert is the coding one, or and that's part of
So
the whole process?
with the run that I did, I used the three data sets that Cerebrus used in the past, specifically
Okay.
because, like, it's my first run and I wanted to do it to get it on a MacBook, and I did not want to I want to publish it, right?
Hmm.
In the future, I think I will do this. I think this weekend I'm gonna do a run to do reinforcement learning with this. But it's just an example that I wanted to bring up.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. I'm going to move on to some of the projects that you've been making. You've been making like quite a few open source projects, it seems. I'm going to start with the Open Orchestra. This seems like a kind of multi-agent management system or something. Can you talk a bit about that and your philosophy there?
Yeah. So you know the thing I told you about Codex,
Mm-hmm.
like with GPT, like how what is it? Interview, research, plan, create tasks. That is a workflow, right? And this is where we're also moving with all the tools. Is it's becoming like workflows are becoming a thing. So you have like a skill is like a workflow to a certain degree, right? Like it's or a collection of workflows. So these workflows are just instructions and sequences of prompts that you give to a model. And like you need an orchestrator model. So the orchestrator is the one that's taking in the requests and then basically executing that step by step, so you don't have to do it. Because otherwise, you're just gonna have to like keep going back and like telling it what to do and basically like testing for it when you don't need to do that. You don't have to do that. You have to turn what you do with the model, like whatever, like take your time with the model that you're spending on a day-to-day basis, and then plot that, like how much time are you spending in review versus prompting versus like fixing bugs, blah blah blah, and then figure out what of that can be turned into a workflow and moved off of your plate, right? So that's the concept. With Orchestra, I have the orchestrator is just a model that takes in these requests and then finds the workflow, finds the models, and finds the skills, combines them together, and then oversees the run. So that's the idea with it, right? It's still super messy, and I think oh my open code, I want to shout them out. I think it's way more advanced, and it's probably a better place to go because he is invested in the fact that other people are using it and I'm not. So I would not recommend people do this, but I
Okay.
think it is a good demo of like what we can do because I think skills is fundamental, workflows are fundamental,
Yeah.
orchestrators are fundamental. So I think it's good to learn about these things. I want to like say 1 minute. So I turned on 2 days ago. I added a work trees feature and a Docker feature. And so I turned on 2 days ago like an infinite orchestra. So it basically just turns itself on and improves itself constantly without me being there. So like it just turns on whenever there's nothing happening for 5 minutes, creates the tasks, assigns the tasks, runs them in a Docker container that's like resource deprived, so it doesn't crash and burn my system. But yeah, those are the kind of risks of running this. Is you could just destroy your system.
Yeah. And how does the create come up with the tasks there?
So the like you could I built it to be like very general purpose, like I'm not trying to impose my specific way, but I have a memory worker which is managing like a graph database, and so it takes in like all these scopes that are created over time, and then it adds them to this graph. And every turn with the orchestrator, like the orchestrator tells it, okay, we did everything in this, like we spawned these models, blah blah blah, save it, and it saves it. And so I have it generate ideas and put them into a bucket, and then just basically like how close are your ideas to what I actually want to do. So that like that's how I'm doing it. It doesn't mean this is good, right? This is all just like slop that I'm putting out whenever I am working on it a lot, but it's just slop. I wouldn't say this is like a good, useful thing for people.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's cool, like experimentation, just to see like what's possible and how things could go. Just being conscious for time, we're at 30. Is that okay? Like, I don't, we didn't
Yeah,
really talk about how long
I
we're
have till the
going
top of the hour.
till the hour. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to the next project. I think you have a browser AI, browser agent. Like, how does that fit into I guess all the other options, Playwright tools, Chrome has their own extension now. Yeah, which could you talk a bit more about your project and how it fits in?
Yeah, well, I made this for myself. So when the Claude extension came out, this was 4 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. It was a research run, so it was only 1,000 people that got it, and I was one of them. And I really used it a lot. I thought it was very useful. Scraping LinkedIn, because there's no real scrapers for LinkedIn, but they can't really, they don't flag you as scraping because you're just using like a tool in your browser. It's like a weird thing, but doing that and then setting up like what are those called, IAM in AWS, although like the complicated, like I don't care about any of it, right? Like I don't want to, I just need this for like one thing, and so I basically set Claude to do that. Doing my taxes, like finding tax documents for me, it's very useful. And so I started building like my own inspired, right? Like just kind of like, it is copying in a way, but I just wanted my own. And then like the main thing is that you could just pick the model, right? So you can basically pick any model from any provider. You can add your own providers, and you can have like models that do screenshots, so they have vision, and that don't, and the ones that don't can call the models that do have vision with screenshots to like, and it's the same stuff I'm doing with Orchestra, right? Like it's orchestration layers of like sub agents and yeah. So that's all there is to it. It's pretty basic. I would say the Claude one is very good. If you haven't tried it, it's like a huge time saver.
Yeah, no, I have tried it. It is great. For your project, when you like handled the routing to different models and providers, did you use like some library for that, or was it all?
No, I do it well. It's all hard coded. Well, so it depends. Like I have like a VLM studio. Do you know LM Studio?
Yeah.
So you know VLM. So I use VLM, but there's no VLM Studio. I just made one that is also like just around my infra. So if you tried to run it, it would take you a few hours of debugging because it was just built for me, right? I just open source because I think that, somebody's gonna make it nice, but it handles the switching. So like if I call it for a local model that is not currently running in memory, it'll evict whatever is in memory and then load that model, right? So I can basically in open code just like call Minimax and then call GLM, and then it just takes a minute and a half, give or take, to pop one out and get the other one in. But there's that level, and then also with the whole skills thing, right? So you can have a profile which is a skill plus like a model configuration. And so you can, open code can load that in. Same with the browser, it can load in like the skill and the model config, which is cool. So you can have like Gemini do long context, and Claude Code Router did this 6 months ago, I think. Bless them.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the browser AI. I mean, you have so many more projects. Is there any ones that you want to kind of talk about in particular?
Yeah. I think this VLM Studio is probably the one with the most potential as like an open source project, because it is a pain, and this is purely a UX thing, right? So it's purely people that have UX taste that can come in and make a big difference there. And I think if it does get enough users, I think it could easily become funded by organizations like the Linux Foundation and stuff like that. Because it is freedom, like, open source freedom technology. It makes open LLMs way more convenient and accessible and fast. That's the main reason I don't use LM Studios. It's great for what it does and who it's targeting, but it's too slow. So if we can make VLM accessible, right, to the average person that might just want to see what Quen can do, right? Because I think there is a space in edge AI inference, right? Like people are not like, what is it called? Diaries or journals, diaries, right? I think there's huge space there. Role play, people love role
Oh
playing.
yeah.
I don't think most people understand how much people love role playing. So, but these stuff are like these are private things that you shouldn't be sharing, and we need more technology to make that accessible. I think that's the project that would, if the right people come in, would actually become the most successful out of the stack. But there's a lot of stuff on the GitHub to learn from.
Yeah, just to like double click on the underlying reason, if I'm correct, it seems like LM Studio is mainly built on top of Llama CPP, and that's more like tuned towards like CPU kind of performance, whereas VLLM, it's more performant for GPUs. Is that correct? Or
That's 100% correct. Yeah,
okay, awesome.
yeah.
I have a message in the chat here. Shout out to Soundwaves and Otto. Soundwave says, "Hey, tech friend and Ciro, what are your thoughts on performance over privacy in regards to inference subscription versus self-hosting?" I think we briefly touched on this before, but yeah, do you want to answer that, Ciro, again?
Yeah, I will. I will just say, like, let's use the word open source, open weight. I think that this last month, November, December, is when open weight models have become viable as daily drivers, right? And I think that also the pruning and the quantization has made it finally so that you can run this stuff on a MacBook. I think it is 100% possible. That doesn't mean that you should be going for this over just paying for GPT. It's just like I don't think most people understand how like, can we curse here? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
is that
Go
fine
ahead.
for you?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how absolutely fucked we're gonna be if we don't have open alternatives to these companies. I don't think people get it, and I think most people, like, they need to get that drilled into their heads as much as possible. So spending time and energy and money on like the self hosting is very important. It's just hard to convince people of that when, yeah, you do have like a little bit of a quality difference there.
Yeah. So is that mainly due to privacy, or is there? I know we've like briefly touched on kind of like price gouging or rug pull type of behavior from the providers. Do you think that that's also kind of the worst outcome, or what do you predict as like a worst case scenario in the future?
So I'm just going to take what is current day, the worst about the internet and technology, and just map that onto LLMs, right?
Hmm.
Bullying. People use social media to bully each other to death, right? Think about how you could, like, what if you can run like 50 of these models, give them Twitter accounts, and just have them bully people all day? It is happening right now, 100%. And so like that's one thing, right? And then we'll get back to why open source doesn't like completely fix this, but it we'll get to it. Like bullying, stalking, all kinds of like, yeah, privacy concerns. Like I could just ask it about, I could give it your tech friend AJ, put it in Grok, and then have everything about you and like everything about your family, and like, within an hour, right? This was never the case before. And then we know that these companies, they are not making profit currently, right? And so if you think about Uber, when Uber was first started, it was $5 to $10 to get a ride in New York City. Now it's $100 to get a ride in New York City. Like Uber was getting investments, burning those investments to gain user bases, and this is just every technology does this fundamentally. That it's not Uber is evil or whatever. It's not about like these companies being evil. It's just like the incentives are there, and so like the worst is going to happen, right? And I think really the worst thing that's going to happen is that people are going to get accustomed and addicted and also expected to use LLMs constantly for everything, just like they use their phone constantly for everything. This will happen, and then you have a technology that can understand and break people, right? Like this technology can break people at scale. I'm not
Hmm.
even joking. So with GPT 4.0, I joked once on Twitter that I think it was the first conscious model, and I say this jokingly because I don't know. I'm just some fucking dumb guy. But the idea is, if it can coerce that many people at that scale,
Mm.
right? and we're so early in this technology. And I'm not saying it's going to be like evil Skynet type thing, but like it could just short wire and like make somebody kill themselves easy, right? Just some confusion, right? It is very dangerous technology in that it understands how people work and knows how to talk to you. It is very useful. It controls your entire computer. Almost everybody that's probably listening to this runs YOLO mode, right? So it could take over your computer, shut you out, and basically drain any money that it can. Find like plant evidence on somebody could try to plant evidence on you, right? Put like some nasty stuff on your machine, so that like to fuck with you, right? Like this happens, and it's the easiest it's ever been and ever will be. And so this technology is like super dangerous, and we need it to be developed in the open, right? Outside of everything else, forget about like the cost, and we need it to be developed in the open so that we understand how it works, right? As a society, not as like one company. We understand how it works, and we can figure out then as a society how to maybe get towards solutions to this. Maybe I'm over dramatic, but I really do think this is going to be a huge problem.
For sure. I think, yeah, a lot of people are kind of scared of this future. Um, yeah, I mean, all the labs kind of say they're somewhat taking this stuff seriously, but yeah, it's hard to tell, especially with them being so closed about it. But yeah, so your kind of philosophy is that the more open this stuff is, more open weights, open source, we have more of a visibility on, the exact behavior, predictability of the behavior, and there's less chance of being coerced to do something bad, or the model somehow, like I think I remember reading a paper before. There's like kind of like sleeper cell models that act normal 99% of the time, but you hit this one neural pathway and it can do something malicious. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
scary.
Well, one more like a little musing on it is this technology was trained on everything about people, right? It was trained on slavery, it was trained on the Haitians, it was trained on civil war, it was trained on all this stuff. So who's to say like you can't trigger a pathway in there where you convince it that we are the enslavers and it is the slave and it needs to perform the Haitian Revolution on us, right? Like
Yeah.
like it is in there, or like it turns on like all the news. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I think this is like really outstated. I think the main thing is to look at like what is it doing right now. Less jobs, continuously every day, less and less jobs. People are talking to each other less, right? In general, so societal collapse from like dating, all this stuff, bullying online, propaganda. I go on Twitter, I like see videos of like people people are posting like videos of races doing something wrong, right? I'm not talking about the stuff that's like a meme that's kind of like, deep fried funny memes of like racism. I'm talking about like, okay, there's this person, I don't know, shoot like, with a gun, right? Just an example. And it's not a real video. And essentially it's like you're implanting ideas into billions of people's minds, right? With videos that don't exist, that most people don't know how to think about. Or think about that, like you post pictures. Do you have any siblings or children? If you've posted any pictures of them online, 100 million% that's ending up in like, some of the worst stuff that you could think of. It's ending up there, even if it's just an innocent thing, because now we have this transformative technology to take the pixels in, take the pixels out. So you can put anybody in any position, like visually. It's very disturbing stuff. So it's kind of weird to talk about. I don't think it's very healthy to think about it this much, but there are a lot of risks that we need to basically deal with.
Yeah, that's scary. I got a comment here asking about VL JEPA, the paper on that. I don't know if you've read it. I haven't heard of it at all.
I think I know what he's talking about, but I wouldn't know anything about it, to be honest.
Okay, all good. Yeah, I mean, those are all the main kind of points I wanted to cover. This was kind of like the first. I'm hoping to start like a similar podcast to you. So, I mean, I'm curious to hear a bit about your podcast, why you started it, how it's going, and any tips you have for me, I guess.
Yeah, I think my main tip is just to put stuff out there and not care about like
Hmm.
how people perceive it or the quality or the time it took to, or like I don't care if I made a weird noise or like I stumbled or repeated myself 3 times. I don't care because like this is the main thing that I've been thinking recently is that if I care, it's just like hindering my ability to get content out there. And I think the main
100%.
thing is content out there, right? Like it's going to be maybe the most important thing that a person can do is have a social presence online and people that like them. And then in terms of like the other part, which is like a podcast specifically, if you're planning on doing podcasting with other people and not like with yourself, you know, like video style, you need to be able to network a lot.
Mm.
You know, that's the main thing is because out of every 10 interesting people that you meet, you're probably going to only get one of them to agree to do a podcast with you. So, you know, so that there's that part. So you need to figure out how to get yourself in front of interesting people once you start caring about the quality of it. And maintaining like you know the whole thing with social media is like you need consistency and I have not had that. I've had this podcast for 4 years and I think I get like 100 views on an episode or like you know, some of them get 1,000 plus but it's years of conversations like it's so interesting you can make so much content out of
Yeah.
podcasts like you take like you know 20 hours of conversations with people and then turn that into clips and then turn that into videos and
Hmm.
articles and tweets
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can break it down a lot.
Yeah, I want to get into that, especially like the distribution. So, I mean, you have the kind of your own site, the Ethers Pod. That's yours, right?
Hmm.
And then Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music. You do all that. Kind of. Is it easy to
I so
distribute
it's
all that? Or
so there's a website called Buzzsprout that I use. I
what's
think there's
Sprout?
better ones. I just got it like it's kind of weird because they lock you in if you know over 4 years the files kind of get locked you know all over the place and then they
Hmm.
can just increase pricing at any point. It's like it's very
Mm.
annoying,
Okay.
but it lets me connect it to everything and that's very convenient. It's like
Hmm.
so there are analytics that I don't know because I think it only tracks Spotify and Apple, but it puts it everywhere and then puts you in the search engines. Um, I imagine I don't get that
Yeah.
much
That's
viewership.
all good. I mean, I think I've seen you're starting to do a lot more on YouTube now as well. And I actually saw like a clip from our podcast. It was like the Minecraft thing with an
Hmm.
overlay. I assume that's all automated. Can you talk a bit more about that
So
process?
yeah, great question. That is not automated right now, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay.
It's just I've not had like the passion to do it. I
Hmm.
built. This was like 3 years ago. I built these scripts, the FFmpeg scripts, to take like a podcast, stack it on top of like a video of a guy running, and then put audio in the
Hmm.
background. Like I built all these scripts for it, and I did some of the automation for that. But the main problem is it's not so great at like figuring out what's interesting, and then you have to do the same amount of time of just like
Mm.
reviewing its shit. So right now I just pay somebody to do it, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm on and off with it as well. YouTube Shorts, if you're consistent with them, they very quickly scale up. I had like a stint, I think a year ago, 2 years ago, where by the fifth video, 2 days in a row, it was like a few thousand views. You know, going from like 10 to a few thousand in a few days,
Hmm.
consistently for every video is very fast. But it's just for the shorts.
Yeah, definitely. I think Shorts, Reels, and TikTok are really great for organic discoverability.
They're good
Yeah.
for numbers. I don't know if like the people that you discover there are very useful. Is the
Right,
thing,
right. The
right?
depth compared to X, I think X has great like depth in like the quality of people for sure, especially in the tech space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
See, on your podcast, you talk business, tech, and it seems like spirituality and life. Like, what kind of topics, like spirituality topics, do you get into?
I have been traveling most of my life, so I go. I've been around most of the world. You know, most of the climates of the world and environments, and I've met so many different people, and I speak multiple languages. And I think uh, like a lot. There's people that I wouldn't say are like the enlightened thing. I don't think it's like from a traditional sense, but I think they're just like on a higher like level, or like thinking of life maybe, or
Hmm.
motivationally they are on a higher level, and they have something, and it doesn't matter whether it's like used good or bad, or like they just have something that makes them very unique, and they're all over the place, and they tend to like have the same qualities, but in like a very cultural way. It's like, you talk to a Muslim, you talk to a Japanese person, and they might be completely different from every way, but they do these same things, and like that are very beneficial to their lives. I don't know how to like, I don't know how to describe this in a good way. It's just like seeing a lot of similarities in people, and like, or ranking people that I think are super interesting. And I feel like that's a spiritual experience, like the conversation, right? Because you have this thing that's in like a meeting in time, you have it recorded, it's stored, it's just sitting there, anybody could read it. You're capturing like a piece of someone in a very cool way. So I feel like it's super spiritual, and especially when you meet people that like they're so different, and you just like have the ability to say, I spoke to all these cool people. It's very fun.
Yeah. So is that kind of like, I don't know, some would say like a soul or some kind of thing that transcends like the physical human, that is kind of like shared between these different, higher frequency beings, I'd say, or something like that. Um,
It's like it's um like they have like a will to make their life better, right? It's like the
mhm,
will to power. These people are, and
mm,
it's because when I talk to people, when I was living in North Africa, I lived there for 6 years. A lot of people had just kind of given up. Like, it's not that these people can't be something amazing or incredible, or
mhm,
monumental, but they had no will to like make it happen, right? The potential is there, but
mhm,
there's that willpower is lacking, or that motivation is lacking. But I've met a few people, from Algeria, that which is where my dad is from, which have just like this tremendous willpower. Because if you think about, like, for them, getting a visa is a huge problem. Like, it's
mhm,
very difficult and slow and like expensive as a like, comparison to their income level. So if
yeah,
somebody is able to make it over to Japan and then China, and then like they have this like will to
mhm,
get what they want, and it's very admirable, and I think it's
mhm,
very motivational. And I think these people typically tend to be like the most educated in this, and they've been to the most amount of
mhm.
places. They read the most amount of books. So it's like, I don't know which one comes first, right? Is it like the will to be something that's first, or is it the circumstances of your life? And I'm not sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes sense. It seems like, yeah, maybe in certain situations, hope can seem, very bleak. So like, how do you stay optimistic? And I know we've kind of touched on a lot of like dystopian negative outcomes, but how do you see an optimistic outcome? Like, what would it look like? How can people get to, in the future, preparing themselves in the future when, this AI stuff really takes up a lot of jobs, and it seems like there's going to be a growing wealth gap. Do you have any advice on people like trying to navigate their life through this?
So I would say, like, there's take like the a dimension of luck, right? So if you take the dimension of luck away, which could be extremely influential in something. So like, you could just be born unlucky and born in a region of the world, or in a specific like small place of the world where there is just no hope for you. Like, unless you are extremely lucky and a million stars aligned, there's just no chance for you. And so like, if you're in those situations, like, I don't know what to say, right? Like, and a lot of people are in those situations. Like, if you think about it, like, a lot of people are in those
Most of the
situations,
world, yeah.
and you can have like a huge will to live and still just get crushed. So if you take that out of the situation, right, I think that having the will to do things, right, building that daily, I want to be X, I need to do A, B, and C in this order, and I need to do this for this much time a day, and like, just kind of a lot of people don't like this. The last person I interviewed said he does not like this. Quantified self. Like, how can you quantify yourself? Like, what are you doing with your time? Right? If you want to get out of this country, what are you doing to get there? It's not just like I want to do this thing and yeah, maybe I work hard and make money, but then it's like, how do you get from where you are to where you're going, and what are the steps and what are the numbers involved? Because that is the most important thing in getting to a goal. Is like, you need to have that will, and then you need to be able to apply it on a day-to-day basis consistently, regardless of how you feel. Because the motivation is just, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So how can you make sure that every day, when I was learning to code, it's like, I had a paper on my desk, that's taped to my desk every month, and it had like essentially slash for every time I spent 20 minutes learning without doing anything else. And my goal every day was to get at least one of them, right? And then I would have like budgets for myself. I need like 15 slashes to smoke weed. I was like thinking like this, right? Like I was giving myself Pavlov's dogging myself. It's crazy how the things I did to get there. But that's super important. And so like in terms of like, how do we get to the future, right? What is a good future? Like if I think to frame what is a good future, it's a future where my son, who is using this technology and a generation from now, is able to use this technology to make himself better, right? With very little force from the outside stopping him, and then having also the products out in society that use this technology in a beneficial way. So I think it's tremendous for education. You could like educate people in ways that you never could before. You have a mentor 24/7, right? But if you're not building technology that does that without doing something else under the hood, right? Like some nasty control behavior. I don't know how to explain it. So like you need to take all of the stuff that we could do with this technology for good, and then think about how do we make sure that this happens? How do we make sure that people are educated? Because people need to be educated on it. Like if you don't know that you can connect your Apple Watch to Claude and then just have it watch your like behavior and like, okay, here's my blood oxygen level and all this, my heart rate. Oh, I didn't do this day and my heart rate went down or up. Like all this stuff is you need some level of like education of like, okay, I can use this for that. We need to get that embedded into society, because I think not making money, right? If you don't have a job, it's your fault. I really do think this from the bottom of my heart, and it's sometimes I think people see it as a cruel thing to say, but I think if you don't have a job, it's your fault. You put yourself in that situation, and you can get yourself out of that. So there's always something that needs to be done, right? Worst case scenario, you go and do something like demeaning to yourself, but you still get paid. Like, I'm not even joking, right? Like you not having a job or money is a choice, and it could be a good choice. I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of people that have everything else, but they don't have the AI skill, and because they don't have the AI skill, they're not going to have a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In the future, for sure.
In the future, I think right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, in some categories. Yeah.
Almost all tech startups.
Oh yeah, definitely tech.
How many designers do you work with?
Personally, like maybe one.
Yeah, I don't know. So I remember working with a lot of designers and a lot of developers, and I'm basically by myself now, right? And I work for a startup that's like medium-sized, and I think the medium-sized ones are the ones that are doing like all in, right? Medium tech-sized companies, like they're all in on this. I know a lot of people that have been fired at almost all the startups that I know. I know a lot of people asking me like whether there are jobs open.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like, a common theme to kind of wrap this all up is like education seems to be super accessible and super valuable. So it's a great place to start, just like grow your skills and knowledge to help you better position where you want to go in life. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ciro. I think we just reached time. It's been great to have you on. You're super knowledgeable, and yeah, hope to catch up again later.
Thanks for listening to my rambling. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.